If you've always dreamed of creating architectural scenes with Hollywood-level quality, you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to walk through the entire process of building a stunning exterior ArchViz render in Unreal Engine. We start from scratch, importing the 3D model, setting up realistic materials, professional day and night lighting, using level sequence for camera animation, and finally, getting a high-quality 4K output with the movie render queue. So let's dive in and build your dream render. First, we're going to select the architecture template and click blank. We'll set up the file name and the project location quickly. Now, we don't need this default floor in the scene, so let's delete it right away. We'll jump straight into the Datasmith tab and use the import file function to bring in our model. We exported our model as a UDITA file from Revit, which is Datasmith's native format. If you were working with a standard FBX file, you would use the regular import content option instead. Right-click in the content browser and create a new folder. Let's give it a clear name to keep our project organized. You should make sure to leave these 3 checkboxes unchecked, especially if you're importing a file from 3ds Max that already contains custom lights. Always uncheck the lights option in that case. However, if you've created specific animations for your objects, then it's perfectly fine to bring them in. Since we built our model in Revit, we don't need to worry about those specific checkboxes here. Under the advanced settings, we'll set the resolution. This part is entirely up to your final desired resolution and, of course, your PC specifications. Now we wait a moment for the file to fully load into the scene. Remember, we modeled this entire building in Revit. If you want to learn the complete building process, make sure to check out part 1, which is the previous video. We put the link for you in the description below and also in the end screen. To organize our assets, let's create a new folder right here. We'll name it MTL, short for material, and then open it. Inside, right-click and select material to create our new asset. Our goal right now is to build a realistic glass material for our curtain wall. Double-click the new material to open the material editor. You'll see all the settings appear on the left. In the Details panel, find the Material Blend mode and set it to Translucent. This is the critical first step whenever you are creating materials for objects like glass or water. Now we scroll down to the Translucency section. We need to set the lighting mode to Surface Forward Shading. Notice that this immediately activates several new options for us. For example, the opacity input, which is essential when creating realistic materials for both glass and water. Right-click on the metallic input and select Promote to Parameter. We do this so we can easily create a material instance right from the start. We'll repeat the exact same process for the base color. Pro tip: if you want a deeper understanding of material creation and how to leverage material instances for ultimate flexibility, be sure to watch our dedicated Unreal Material video. We've included the link for you in the description below. Now, we'll double-click this new parameter and select a white color for our glass. Always avoid using pure white or pure black for your colors. This ensures your final material appears much more realistic. Since glass typically has high reflectivity, we'll set the metallic input to 1 for now. We'll also set the specular value to 1. This controls the intensity of reflections on the surface. In other words, we can control the object's final glossiness or dullness by fine-tuning both specular and roughness. If you need a more in-depth guide on material creation and how these parameters work together, make sure you check out our dedicated video, 04 Unreal Engine Mastering Materials. You can find the link in the description below. We'll initially set the opacity value to 0.01 for now. You can see the changes applied to the material right here in the preview window at the top. Once we're satisfied, let's save the material. Now, right-click on the parent material and select Create Material Instance. Creating this material instance allows us to see our parameter changes on the object in real time, a huge advantage for speed. Since this curtain wall was modeled in Revit, we must select the mullions and the glass panels separately to correctly apply the material to each element. Using the Details panel, we'll select the panels individually. We must only select the panels that are designated as glazed, the ones that will be glass. Select the first panel, then hold the Shift key on your keyboard and click the last panel in the sequence. This instantly selects all the panels between the first and last. Now, hold down the Control and select any remaining individual glazed panels. With all the panels selected, find our new material instance and apply it by clicking the arrow icon next to the material slot in the Details panel. Crucially, remember you must repeat this selection process for each individual curtain wall element. Alternatively, if we click on any of the mullion or panel components within the Details panel, we can directly select those elements in the viewport. This way, the entire curtain wall isn't selected and we get direct access to its individual components in the scene. You can choose whichever of these two methods is easiest for your workflow. Now that we've assigned the material instance to all the glass panels, let's move on to adjusting its parameters. We'll double-click the material instance to open its settings. Remember, clicking on the square next to each parameter, the checkbox activates that setting. To help you better understand each parameter, we'll slowly adjust them so you can visually see their immediate impact on the glass. We've just changed the opacity. Now, compare the difference in light reflection on these panels with the front panel, which still doesn't have our material instance assigned. Let's create a duplicate of our material instance specifically for the front panels. Ctrl+C. Then Ctrl+V will assign this new material to the front panels. We want the reflection level here to be noticeably different from the other panels for demonstration purposes. This is why creating a separate material instance is crucial for achieving unique light reflection settings across different elements. We'll now assign this new material to all of the front glass panels. For the solid panels, we plan to create a colored glass look, so let's make another copy of our material instance. We'll drag and drop the material instance directly onto the panel. If you drag the material onto a full curtain wall component, all panels and mullions will inherit that material. Since this is only this one isolated section, we can easily drag the material onto it. Inside the material instance settings, if we increase the opacity value, we reduce its transparency. We can use this technique to create colored glass that is less transparent and more saturated. From the base color section, we'll change the color. We want this to be black. To see the correct effect of the specular value, we also need to adjust the roughness parameter. We'll handle this fine-tuning later in the scene. For now, we'll apply this new material we just created to all the panels that share this material type. And for the curtain walls that have multiple materials, we'll select them and apply the material through the Details panel, just as we did for the glass. We'll create a brand new material specifically for the mullions. We'll right-click on the base color and click Promote to Parameter. We'll do the exact same thing for the metallic input. We'll set the metallic value to 1 right away to ensure we have that desirable high reflection for a metal surface. If you want to get more familiar with the process of creating all types of metal materials, be sure to watch our dedicated materials video from the Unreal Engine playlist. We'll include that video in the end screen and the link in the description. We'll also create parameters for both specular and roughness. We'll set the specular value high, around 0.95, and the roughness value low, at 0.01, because we don't want a dull metal finish. Remember, since these are parameters, we can easily change values later on in the material instance. We'll set the base color to black and save the material. Right-click on the parent material and select Create Material Instance. Now we'll apply this new material to the mullions. We'll also assign it to this test panel so we can easily see and adjust its parameters. Finally, we'll double-click the material instance to start tuning the settings. Notice how adjusting the metallic parameter instantly changes the light reflection on the surface. We prefer to apply this same material to all the remaining solid panels and all the mullions. Right-click on the main metal material we built and select Duplicate. We'll use this duplicate for the metallic U-shaped profiles. We'll right-click on the duplicate and select Create Material Instance. Our strategy is to assign all materials to all scene elements first, and then perform the final tuning later. This workflow gives us a much better final result. You can either drag the material directly onto the object in the viewport, or you can select the elements via the outliner and then assign the material by clicking the arrow icon in the material slot of the Details panel. You can choose whichever method is easiest for your workflow. Now, let's double-click the metal material instance to start adjusting its parameters. Watch as we adjust the specular value. Notice how the light reflection changes instantly. The same goes for metallic. We highly encourage you to play with these numbers until you completely master the function of each parameter. Next, we'll create a new material. We'll promote the base color, metallic, specular, and roughness all to parameters. We'll create a material instance from this new material. For the color, we'll select a gray tone that gives us a good silver-like finish. We'll select all the glass connections and assign them this new material instance. Now, we'll double-click the material instance to open its tuning settings. Since we want a silver metallic look, we'll set the metallic and specular values high. We'll set the roughness to a low value, around 0.03. Watch as we adjust the specular value. The light reflection changes instantly. The lower this value is, the duller the metal will appear. We'll fine-tune these numbers until we achieve the desired metallic finish. We'll duplicate the main metal material and create a material instance from it specifically for the text elements. Sometimes the settings won't show, or you might accidentally close the Details panel. If that happens, simply go to the Window tab and select Details to bring it back. We'll choose a light color for the text and set its parameters. We can't set the exact final values right now because we haven't built the full scene yet. We must build the environment first, and then tune the reflections accordingly, as the surrounding environment heavily influences reflections. And remember to always save your work regularly in the content browser. Notice here how the reflection on this profile is too intense. We'll reduce the intensity of the reflection by increasing the roughness value. This effectively increases the surface's roughness. For the floor, we can either build a custom material or use ready-made assets from Megascans. We access these via Quixel Bridge, but they are now fully available through the Fab platform. If you want to learn how to acquire and use these free assets and materials, make sure you watch our Unreal Engine playlist, specifically videos 3, Free Assets, and 4, Mastering Materials. And if you've downloaded high-quality maps to build your own custom materials, you can see the entire material creation process in video 4 of our Unreal Engine playlist. We'll make sure to place the link in the description and include the video in the end screen. With the material ready, we simply drag and drop it onto any surface we want to apply it to. We have two main ways to adjust the texture size. We can change the scale inside the material itself, or we can adjust the UV mapping on the model. We'll choose the UV method. We switch to modeling mode, and with the object selected, click UV project in the UV section. Since our floor is a cuboid shape, we'll set the projection type to box. This applies the mapping simultaneously to all 6 faces of the object. Now we can control the size and tiling of the floor in all 3 axes, X, Y, and Z. Finally, click accept and return to selection mode. We'll repeat this UV adjustment process for the other sections as well. Now, we'll integrate some gravel assets that you can download directly from Fab. We'll adjust its UV mapping, though we might come back and refine it later. If we want our metal material to have a unique texture, we absolutely need to use separate roughness and specular maps. We'll apply this material to the parquet floor area as well. As a quick note, since early 2025, you should be downloading all your materials directly through the Fab platform, which offers a huge collection of free assets alongside paid ones. And as we've already mentioned, the full tutorial for this download process is linked for you in the description. We'll assign the material to the floor, although this specific material won't be visible in the final render. We're using it to master the UV settings, so let's quickly review the adjustment process one more time. Click on a panel, and if we hit the magnifying glass icon, it instantly locates and highlights the material we used for that element. Now we select the target panel we want to apply the material to. Since the material is already selected, we just click the arrow icon to assign it immediately. Now we'll repeat this process for the mullions. We'll also locate the U-shaped profile material and apply it to the profiles on the top floor. For the walls, we could build a custom material, but to keep the video concise, we'll use a ready-made material. Remember, you can access these Quixel materials through Fab. We've mentioned this several times, so it sticks with you. I'll display a YouTube card here so you can jump straight to the tutorial on how to get them. We'll now assign this wall material to all the wall surfaces. For the furniture, we have a few choices. We can use the existing Revit models, specialized Unreal Engine assets, or even import objects modeled for renderers like V-Ray or Corona. For now, we'll apply material to the existing Revit objects. We'll use a ready-made material here to save time. We'll create a new material specifically for the table. We'll choose white as the base color and create parameters for specular, metallic, and roughness. Pay close attention here. Objects that consist of multiple parts may have several materials assigned to them. Unreal Engine recognizes these separate parts as individual elements. If you look at the material section on the right side of the Details panel, you'll see multiple elements. For example, one is for the table base, and another is for the horizontal tabletop surface. So, when we click on the table, the Details panel shows us these separate elements. We select the desired material for each one and click the arrow icon to assign that material to that specific element. Look at this area. The material isn't sitting correctly, and we could fix this by adjusting the UV mapping. However, since this area won't be clearly visible in the final render and we're just filling out the interior for realism, we'll skip this correction for now. Alright, let's move on. Now let's build a wood material together. It's getting crowded in here, so let's create a new folder and name it wood. We'll open it up, right-click, and select material. The essential maps we need are albedo or diffuse, normal and a grayscale map for roughness or specular. The easiest way to import these is to click on the maps in your File Explorer and drag them directly into the Unreal Content Browser. To avoid losing your hard work, remember to always save your project. We'll select the maps and drag them into the Material Editor window. Now let's hook up the textures. Connect the albedo to the base color, the normal map to the normal input, and the roughness map to the roughness input. Press the U key and left click to create a texture coordinate node. This is how we'll control the texture size directly from the material instance settings. Next, press the aim key and click, or you can search for the multiply node, either way works. We'll connect the UV output to the A input of the multiply node. We'll right-click on the B input and select Promote to Parameter. Now, connect the output of the multiply node to the UV inputs of all our texture maps. Since we really like this particular wood texture, we'll now assign this material to all the wood elements that will be visible in our final render. Now let's add some light sources. Hover the mouse over the Lights menu and then we can select one of the available options. I'll definitely teach you advanced lighting techniques in the future, but for now, we just want to place a few light sources to create good contrast for a nighttime exterior render. The lighting approach always depends on the final render type. Since we're aiming for a dark exterior, we need high contrast for a visually stunning result. If you can't see the light icons, gizmos, in the viewport, simply press the G key on your keyboard to toggle their visibility. Click the light icon and you can easily change its color. Try to choose a warm color for a more beautiful night render. We control the light's power using the intensity setting. Of course, we can't see the effect of these lights yet because the scene is bright. We'll only see the full effect when we dim the main scene lighting. Notice how the light icon gizmo changes as we adjust different parameters. These parameters are essential for simulating various types of light fixtures, and we'll certainly explore each one in detail in future projects. We can also adjust the width and height of the light source from this same panel. I want to simulate cove lighting, so I've used rectangular light and placed it just above the false ceiling to create that light line. Now, from the outliner window, we'll select the sun and sky elements and reduce the main scene lighting. This allows us to accurately judge the intensity and color of the interior lights we've just placed. Now, we'll use the rotate tool to slightly adjust the rectangular light and observe its effect on the ceiling. Since we want to generally brighten the interior space, we can also use the spotlight and increase its influence radius. This will help give the whole area a subtle yellow, warm feel light. We have two options for the environment. We can adjust the sun-sky lighting, or we can use an HDRI map for environment lighting. We'll explore the HDRI option once we finish placing all our main lights. To use an HDRI map, we first delete the current sun and sky system. Then, from the Lights menu, we select the HDRI sky actor and drag it into the scene. We can then drag our downloaded HDRI file into the content browser and replace the Unreal Engine default map. Now, we'll quickly copy the rectangular light we created for the other rectangular light fixtures. To quickly duplicate an object, first select it, then hover your mouse over one of the movement arrows, axis. Hold the Alt key on your keyboard, and then drag the mouse along that axis to create a copy. To complete our setup, we need a chair which we will now import. If you're unsure how to import objects with the Exa UDITA file extensions into Unreal, be sure to check our dedicated tutorials. For this chair, we'll simply use a ready-made fabric material. Now, we'll duplicate this table setup for the other tables. This shelf is a 3ds Max object that was exported as an FBX file, which is why it currently has no materials. If you want more information on importing 3ds Max FBX objects, refer to Video Unreal Engine, the Ultimate Asset Guide ArchViz Masterclass 03. In our Unreal Engine playlist, starting at 1721, importing FBX files. To take it out of its group, we'll select the elements, right-click, and choose Ungroup. These objects currently have no materials. We can either assign a new material or find the original materials maps, which are usually packaged with 3Ds. Max FBX files and connect them to the base color of a new material. We'll select this book and click the magnifying glass icon in the Materials section to open the material currently assigned to it. If we had exported this model as a UDITA file, Unreal would have completely recognized the material. However, since many of you may not have 3ds Max, V-Ray, or Corona and instead use ready-made FBX files, I want to specifically focus this lesson on how to work with and apply materials to FBX objects. Here's the file we downloaded. We'll navigate into the map folder, select all the images, and drag them into the content browser. Now, we'll drag one of the book cover images into the material editor window and connect it to the base color input. We could set up the rest of the inputs like roughness, normal, and so on. But since this is just a book cover and we aren't planning a close-up render, simply having the cover image connected is sufficient for this scene. We'll save the material and close the window. We'll repeat this quick process for the rest of the books. Now, we'll duplicate these completed objects to populate the rest of the display units. While our final render is an exterior shot, the building's interior must be fully populated with objects to achieve a realistic and natural result. First, we'll select the HDRI sky and press the delete key to remove it. Now, we'll hover over the lights menu and select sun and sky to bring back the default environment lighting system. The light is now far too bright. We need to correct the exposure. We can do this either by clicking the small post-process icon or by searching for post-process in the outliner. We'll then reduce the exposure value inside the post-process volume settings. There, now the scene looks correct. I'll be sure to teach you how to work with both the HDRI and the standard sun and sky system. I previously added the city sample buildings to my library, and I'm using these to set up the surrounding urban environment. Just search for that exact term in Fab to find them. I currently have these in my Epic Games launcher, but as a reminder, since 2025, asset access is managed through Fab. I put the tutorial for this Unreal Engine, the Ultimate Asset Guide ArchViz Masterclass 03, in the end screen, as a card here, and in the description so you can easily find it. I'll start by creating a sequence for our final render. We'll click this option and select it. Although for now, we just want to establish a good angle for the render. We'll click on the three lines, hamburger menu, and select Cine Camera Actor. Then we'll drag the created camera into the scene. Now, select the camera to reveal its settings. In the Details panel, we can set the sensor size dimensions. We can also adjust the focal length from here to zoom in on our subject. I'll also quickly furnish the lower floor by duplicating the objects from the upper floor. And in this specific corner, I prefer to use a concrete material instead of the gravel. I'll use the concrete material for the protruding exterior walls as well. We'll adjust the material's UV mapping using the modeling mode. Remember, you can use a ready-made material or you can download the maps and build it yourself. I covered the process for building materials like this concrete in detail in the material video, and the link is in the description. Here I can add a slight tint to the albedo map. I want the color to have a subtle gray ash tone for an enhanced look. Finally, I'll choose a few suitable buildings from the City Sample Buildings pack that we added to our file and drag them into the scene to complete our urban environment. I'll switch to landscape mode and create a new landscape. Before we click create, we can move the landscape freely. But once we click create, we must switch back to selection mode to move or adjust it. From this panel, we can control the number of components, which dictates the size and resolution of the landscape. Now, I'll populate the surrounding environment with buildings to close the horizon line. This is a key technique for realism. Suppose you need to delete a specific section of a landscape. We go back into landscape mode, select the Manage tab, and choose the Delete tool. I deleted this section because it was interfering with my building. I could have also lowered this area, but I want to teach you a different method in each lesson so you become familiar with all the tools. I'll adjust the position of the hole or cutout in the landscape. I'll enter the camera view to better frame and compose the scene. I select the camera. I can set the image's aspect ratio or output size from the section in the Details panel. I'll adjust the focal length to control the zoom and field of view. I imported these high-quality trees from the Epic Games launcher into my Unreal file. You can get them for free from Fab. The tutorial for this is 3 Unreal Engine, the ultimate asset guide video at 330 high-quality Megascans trees, and I'll include the link in the description and the end screen. I'll place the trees in the scene by simply clicking and dragging. It might take a moment for all the shaders to fully load. Now that we've placed the trees and surrounding buildings, notice how the reflections on the glass and the metallic surfaces have changed. I'll adjust the direction of the sun and the time of day to see which setting gives me the most beautiful render. The video from getting too long, I will skip over that part of the setup. To allow us to render a night scene or experiment with an HDRI map without altering our current file, I will create a new level. I'll go to the File menu and select the Save Current Level, as I'll type in a new name for the level and click Save. I will create a few different levels for practice. If I want to delete one, I simply select it and press the Delete key on the keyboard. To enter a new level, I just double-click on it. Now I'm inside the new level, and any changes I make here will not affect the initial original file. I created this level sequence in the main level, so I will now duplicate it. Important note, the sequence won't recognize the old camera, so we need to place a new camera specifically for this level. I'll delete the previous camera, create a new one, and drag it into the scene here. With the camera selected, I'll adjust the image size in the Details panel using the sensor width and sensor height settings. I can also use one of the default presets. I will set the camera position and create a keyframe to capture the beginning of the shot. I will test different values for the image's width and height until I get the desired aspect ratio. Now, if I select the summon sky and delete it using the keyboard, I can go to the Lights menu and select the HDRI backdrop. If I click on the sky and hit the magnifying glass in the Material section of the Details panel, it shows me the default sky maps available in Unreal. I can use an HDRI map that I downloaded myself by clicking and dragging it into the content browser. Now, I'll select it and drag it here. Or I can click the drop-down arrow next to the map slot to select it. I'll test a few other maps as well. As the ambient light is reduced, the light from the fixtures we placed earlier becomes visible. Note that these surrounding buildings also have their own emissive, luminous materials. I'll teach you how to work with keyframes a little later. Let's first finalize our night scene. We also need to add lighting to the lower floors. I recorded this section to give you a basic introduction to night lighting and to showcase the capabilities of the free Epic Games assets, but I'll release a dedicated comprehensive video on night lighting in the future. With that, this scene is ready to render. Okay, let's switch back to our daytime level. I'll double click on it. Now we'll enter the sequence. You remember we created a keyframe here for the camera transition? This is important because if we move the camera and accidentally lose the angle, we can simply move the time slider or hit play, and the camera will snap back to this exact angle because we created a keyframe for it. Okay, we also learned that with the camera selected, we can manually define the image size in the Details panel, or we can use the preset aspect ratios by clicking this button. I'm going to slightly adjust the opacity of the glass material for better reflections. However, a crucial point here is that we get the best result by assigning a very low value like 0.01 to the roughness input. By clicking the arrow and the camera icon, I'll exit the camera view. One more important thing to note, the trees I placed in the night level are not here now. When you save a new level, any changes you make afterward, including adding or deleting assets like trees, are confined only to that new level. To apply material to the floor created with the landscape tool, we cannot simply drag the material onto it. Instead, we must select the landscape first, then select the material, and finally click the arrow icon in the material slot of the Details panel to assign it. I'll quickly set up the scene now since I've already covered this part in detail. I'm gonna set the video to fast forward so it doesn't take up too much of your time. Each of these parameters controls a specific aspect. I want to change the focal length. I'll move the time indicator and then click this button to create a keyframe. I'll move the time indicator again. I'll delete any extra keyframes. If I click on these keyframes, I can drag them to any frame I want. I'll also make sure to set a keyframe for the transition so the camera angle doesn't change. By dragging this red line, I can change the duration of the clip. Right now it's 150 frames, and I'm using 30 frames per second. which makes the clip 5 seconds long. Now I'll change the focal length and create a keyframe. If I want the zoom to be slower, I can drag the keyframes further apart on the timeline to create a smoother, slower movement. I press Ctrl on the keyboard and zoom out using the mouse wheel scroll. Now I can easily increase the duration of the clip. If I hold Ctrl and scroll the mouse wheel in the opposite direction, it zooms in. I'll move the red line to the frame where I want the clip to end. Crucial point. You must also drag the end of the camera track in the sequence to match the red line, otherwise the render will not be taken until the end. Now, to slow down the movement, I'll move the keyframes closer to the end of the clip. Note that here, only the keyframe for the focal length needs to move, since that's the only parameter we changed. See? The movement is now slower. Okay, let's proceed with the render settings. We can apply these settings to all of our renders. To get a high-quality animation, we follow these steps. I'll enter the sequence. Click on the three-dot menu and select Movie Render Queue. Now I'll click on this icon. This is the name of the sequence we're about to render. We can change it from here. These are the settings used for the specific render. I will go over the 4K settings with you right after this step. If I click here, it will bring up the render settings. I plan to first render the output as a sequence of PNG images, and then combine those images in Photoshop to create the final video. I'll select the JPEG output and delete it using the keyboard. Then, from the settings section, I'll choose PNG output. Next, I'll go back to settings and select anti-aliasing. Here, I'll enter the number 32 or 64 if we want higher quality. I'll check this box, Override Anti-Aliasing, and select the third option. Finally, from the settings section, I'll select the high resolution option. I'll enable this checkbox to activate the high resolution setting. Then I'll enter the output section. This shows the default location where the images will be saved. We can set any custom location we prefer. This is where we can change the naming format, but I'll keep the default format. I'll activate this checkbox, Use Custom Frame Rate, so I can change the frame rate. I'll select 30 frames per second, FPS. Finally, I'll click Accept. This window shows the current output location for the images, but as you saw, to change the save path, we must do it through the settings in the output section. Now I'll click on Render and let the engine finish the rendering process. If you want to render in 4K, there are just a few minor differences in the settings we need to adjust. For anti-aliasing, I set the spatial sample count to 32 or 64. I make sure to check the Override Anti-Aliasing box. I'll leave the anti-aliasing method set to none, because we are now primarily relying on the high spatial sample count for superior quality. I will also check the boxes for the warm-up settings here. For the render warm-up count, I can set it to either 64 or 120. I'll enter 120 to ensure maximum stability for our lumen and tiling features. For high-resolution settings, keep the tile count at 1 if your output image is 108p. However, if you are rendering in 4K, you must enter a minimum value of 2 for the tile count. You can also use 3 or 4 for increased stability. For the overlap ratio, you should input a value between 0.01 and 0.02. Finally, check the override subsurface. Scattering box only when you have specific materials like skin or curtains sheer fabrics in your scene. For the output settings, I will set the resolution to 3840*2160. And for the frame rate, I'm going to choose 30 FPS to resolve the high resolution warning. We need to set the exposure to manual. The details panel is currently closed, so I will bring it back up from the window tab. In the details panel, I'll search for exposure and set the metering mode to manual. Now I can precisely adjust the light levels by manually setting parameters such as f-stop, shutter speed, and ISO. You ensure that the lighting is exactly what you want and that it remains consistent throughout the entire animation. Alright, let's go convert our PNG image sequence into a video file. Now, I'll open Photoshop. I'll copy the address of the folder where the rendered images are saved from the File Explorer. In Photoshop, I'll click Open. Paste the address here and select the very first PNG image file. I'll make sure to enable this checkbox, Image Sequence, and then click Open. I want the animation to be 30 frames per second. Then from the window menu, I'll select Timeline. This will stitch all the images together into a video sequence. We can adjust the camera movement speed later if needed. I'll cut the unnecessary sections from the beginning or end. Finally, from the File menu, I'll choose Export and then Render Video. I can type in a name for the video, set the save location, and that's it. Well, congratulations! You have successfully built a complete exterior ArchViz render from scratch to finish in Unreal Engine and turned it into a high-quality animation. If this video helped you, please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to click the subscribe button so you don't miss the next videos. Also, our next video is super exciting. We are going to first model the famous Ribbon Chapel in Revit, and then move on to mastering its professional rendering in Unreal Engine. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss this complete project. And don't forget to check out the full Unreal Engine, the ArchViz Masterclass playlist for more in-depth tutorials. This video is just one part of it. Until the next tutorial, happy rendering!